welcome to another episode of the Tea in the Net. The Tea representing Uncle Iroh, and the Net is the Apostle Andrew. These are two people that I think are adventurous, gentle, kind, and they have a positive impact on everyone they interact with. Another person who's like that is my guest, Mena Mesiha. Mina is someone I learned a lot about both being childlike and mature, and also one of the formative lessons he taught me about uh, for me was the value the value of reading or understanding um, the existing arguments for something if you think you're gonna have a meaningful discussion on it.
Hmm.
Um, so Mina,
Instead of
thank you.
just talking into the ether.
Right, yeah. Like someone could say a really pithy statement and it can be true. And if you repeat it, that's cool, but you can't imagine that you're gonna have a meaningful conversation if someone says, "Oh, well, why do you think that?" Well, you know, I read it
And
on
I
a
learned this
headline.
from Abu Nadan, Father Daniel Habib. He's the one that taught me that, where, we were talking about something and he said, blah, blah, blah. And I responded with, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, well, I don't disagree with you, but why do you say that? And I said, that's, just what I've always heard. And he responded with, yes, but where have you read that? And I was like, oh, all right. Like, okay. Like, look at the brains on Dan. Um, so yeah, I think that's a standard that he set for me that I have held since he asked that.
Huh. That's cool. I mean, I wish I had a chance to meet him. I wanted to go to the men's ministry
Oh, dude, he
retreat.
knocked it out of the park. Did you
Yeah.
watch the recordings
No, I
or
must have
listen
missed
to the
them.
record? I don't know if they were video or audio, but they're definitely worth. Like,
Okay.
one of your episodes should just be you listening to his lectures, pausing and going, "Whoa."
Yeah, actually, you know what? I genuinely might do that.
Actually, like, one of the things that I'd really love to do is do exactly that with audiobooks, and things like Man's Search for Meaning that aren't that long, or things like Les Mis that are like obscenely, absurdly long, and just do excerpts of it, and then do like a podcast style like reflection, like people like responding in the moment to like, dude, and like setting that up in advance, like this is the passage that we're gonna, you know, listen to and discuss.
Or are you saying you've done that, or you watch
No,
people
I'd,
who do it?
I'd, I'd like to. I've been trying to get actually one of Dan to do it with Les Mis because he recommended it to me, and it's like extended contemplation on the value of mercy and repentance.
Oh, I don't know anything about Les Mis. Just that it
Oh,
was really
so good.
popular for a bit.
Well, I mean, the whatever is always going to be popular, like the musical or whatever. But this is not the musical. This is the book. Um, that I mean, I'm not into the musical at all, but my understanding is that the book is significantly better, and the musical doesn't do it justice.
Yeah. I mean, something like that is why I enjoy having book clubs, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're just much more likely to get more and remember more from the book if
Yeah,
you're regularly engaging with the content that's in it. Yeah. And that was the motivation for almost every book club I've been a part of.
yeah.
I was wondering if there was any of those traits that like the adventurous, wisdom, kindness, positive impact that you felt like you identified with more than the others.
Um, I think the one that I at least find most flattering is like the positive impact one, because I think adventurous is kind of like uh, I don't know. It's not that exciting to me to always be trying to be excited. It's like, okay, like if we're gonna do something fun, let's do something fun. If we're gonna relax, let's relax. Um, I think every season and every moment has its own texture and meaning, and leaning into whatever that is. If it's a peaceful moment, let's be peaceful. If it's sad moment, let's be sad. And I think trying to constantly chase adventure or like dopamine or adrenaline or whatever, I'm like no, like that's not really um something that I at least now, at least in this stage of my life, would ascribe to. What was the other one that you said? So adventure, wisdom.
Yeah.
um I don't know, wisdom seems like a lofty thing. You know maybe it's even more flattering than positive impact, but I think wisdom's like humility, where it's not something that you chase, right? And it's not something that you self-identify as, because I think it's unwise to be wise in your own opinion. And it's unhumble to be humble in your own opinion. So I think those are things that like we have to be very, very careful to chase, because God forbid you have the false impression that you've arrived at either one of those things. But I do think that the one that I would consider to be sort of the most tangible and the most worthy of chasing, and I think um, it's one of those things that you pursue until you find it and you continue pursuing. Similar to what Saint Augustine said about God. He said, let us seek Him whom we have already found." And I think that having a positive impact on people, I think if it's something that you see in me, I do appreciate that, and it's something that I do hear, and I want to continue to sort of live up to that standard that people feel that I have to a certain extent met.
Would you rather I toot your horn or disagree with you first?
Um,
I mean, you must have a preference.
Definitely disagree, but like
Okay,
it's your
well,
show, so
uh, sure is a strong word, but so I'll say I disagree a bit on what you said about.
listen, it's in the public domain,
Okay, sure.
right? Like
If
just that, like that barrier of no, I'm not going to say something that could be criticized is not something that many people are willing to overcome. So just the fact that it's out there and you're like, here, I'm saying X for whoever happens to come across it. I think that's a huge endeavor, and I mean, it's something that I chose to do years ago, as uh,
oh yes,
uh,
I
or
would
mustache something.
I would
Um,
say I would plug like we should plug your thing, but once again, like the view like this plug is also not really a word that works in this context. But
Listen, maybe this is the one that becomes famous, and then people hear about I mustache you something because they're watching. I
the
forget
T
what
in
you
the
call
net,
this.
the T in the net.
The T in the net.
Yes. Um. Yeah. I asked someone to come on, and they said like, just so you know, I'm technically a public figure, and I can't answer like as I can't answer the same way I would answer in private on your thing. And I was like, okay, cool, that's fine. Um. So I was gonna say I disagree on what you a little bit on what you said about wisdom and humility. And one, I don't have the quote off the top of my head, but from The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway,
Mm,
there's a moment in the beginning where the old man's like he's thinking to himself, and he said like he realized some time ago that he had achieved humility, um, but he wasn't like, and it was just a thing.
mm,
Um, And I think wisdom's a little bit the same. Like you might not say like, "Oh, I'm wise," but you might know that you've accumulated wisdom, right? Like you have experience that you learned from, and others could gain from hearing about it, or hearing about what you learned from it. And that thing is usually what we would call wisdom, right? So it's like maybe to call yourself wise, like, oh, I'm so wise or whatever, or like I'm more wise than someone else, like to use it comparatively. I think you can run into trouble really quickly, but I don't think it's all that prideful or salacious to say like, I have some wisdom in X, Y, or Z experiences, or I know that I don't draw attention to myself in frivolous ways, to say like, oh, I have some degree of like humility.
Let me ask you this: do you have wisdom and humility?
Like some, I wouldn't say like,
It's what is that from? Oh, it's a Seinfeld thing where they were talking about Jackie O and how she had so much grace. And Elaine goes, I feel like I have some grace. And the lady she was talking to, she goes, you either have it or you don't. You can't have some grace. And she goes, fine, I guess I don't. I don't have any grace. I don't want it. I don't have it. I don't need it. And
like
I don't know if that's is exactly the same about like wisdom or humility. Um, and I think that if you think of them in terms of grades or shades or degrees, then I would feel more comfortable with the idea of having it, right?
well, I don't think there's like some moment where like, oh, I have become a wise man or I have become humble. Um,
But that's the
like
thing. I think like they are unfair standards that we should hold ourselves to, right?
sure.
Right, they are not things that we can attain, and that there is one who is wise, there is one who is humble, and we are created in God's image and likeness so that we can approach Christ's wisdom, Christ's humility. And I don't think that it's a fair standard. Again, I do think it's a standard that we should aspire to be as wise and as humble as Christ. And the fact that we never will isn't a reason not to try, right? And I don't really personally think it makes a difference if Christ is a 10 out of 10 that you're a 3 or a 7, right? And you're a engineer, you're a math guy, so I think the derivative matters more than the actual graph, right? So if the graph, um, you know, is telling us kind of where you're at, what direction you're headed in, I think matters more.
Sure. So I agree with what you said 100%. But even like your choice of language and like your example imply that there's shades, right? That it's like this is a continuous. So because it's not a discrete like I am wise or I am unwise. Christ
Yeah,
is the most wise and the most humble, like me. But but
I
like
guess what I'm trying to resist is the inevitable human temptation to start actually um, pontificating and philosophizing on where you are, right? Where like, well,
yeah,
yes, we're admitting that there's shades and grays and it's not black and white, and I'm saying like avoid the black, you know, shift towards the white, and it doesn't matter what shade of gray you are, because it's dangerous to start comparing your shade of gray to others, because that in and of itself is unwise and not humble.
I agree. I
And the
agree that once.
temptation is real. Like the temptation is not a trivial thing. It's not like a hypothetical. Like it's something that I'm doing right now as we're having this conversation. And I hate that I am, and I'd like not to, right?
Sure. Okay, I mean, so I agree with what you're saying 100%. The only thing I'll add is maybe it's not the only thing I'll add, but like part of humility is right. I think it's a C.S. Lewis quote where it's like it's
Right.
not lying about who you are. It's like thinking about yourself less.
It's
And then
not thinking less of yourself. It's
not
thinking of
thinking.
yourself less.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there's another quote where it's like it's not humble to lie about what you can do,
Right.
like who you are, right? So it's like
Right.
if I go up to you and I'm like, "Oh, dude, you're so much stronger than me." Like no offense, but like we both know that's a lie. But like
Right.
but like humility would be more like it's not even never bringing it up. It would just be like recognizing that you're not less or I'm not more for that, and not
Right.
thinking of like that we should be like it's not a metric worth comparing our values, like our self, like our the value of ourselves over kind of thing, right? It's like I happened to spend time training here. I enjoyed it. I got strong. You didn't do that. That's fine. You had other priorities, and
Right.
um, and so. Actually, I don't remember what my point is.
You're talking about the blacks and whites and grays and
Yeah,
temptation to compare.
I don't know. I think my subconscious just got triggered by the comparison keyword, but it's okay. Um, we don't have to talk about this if this is like like a temptation for you. If you're
No, I
saying,
like
but
no. Trust me. Like, if you think that this conversation is the hardest thing on my ego and my temptation and my failure to achieve my aspirations towards humility, like no, where I spend all day every day going. So one of the strongest arguments for never leaving the house is not having reasons to be tempted into pride. Um, right? Like it doesn't take much to be like, really? That's what there's that's where we are as a society. This is what we're doing. Like these are the choices that we're making. Like, okay,
that's
like
ironic. I feel the opposite, but
really, like Saint Anthony. I think like looked around and went, no, like, I think to a certain extent, and I'd love to ask him about this. Like was it really like this like love of God and like wanting to spend time with God, or was it like antisocial, like I'm tired of people and they make it harder for me to pray and harder for me to love God because I look at God's creation and go, no, I don't want to be around this anymore.
I was I got a chance to talk to a bishop, and we asked the bishop like, oh, just tell us a story, and so he's telling us like, oh, how he became a monk. And part of it was like he was like, you know what, like I'm gonna give it the good old college try. Like I got my college education, I'm going to America, I'm gonna try and work, and then like, you know, let's see if I can like. And then he's like, yeah, I worked for like 2 3 years, and I was like, I'm done, I'm out of here. Nope, send me to the
Right.
desert.
I
Like
can't
I'm going to
stand
the desert.
right. I can't stand any of these people. Like I can't stand any conversation I have because I'm constantly going, are you even trying to make sense? Like what do you, like why is this the best that you can come up with? Like
Yeah, I feel like I see that more on like the internet, but when I see people in real life, I find more people who are I'm generally more pleasantly surprised in real life.
that's very nice. Listen, you're a very good person.
Uh, my inner thoughts disagree with you,
Okay,
but
but like which one? So I'm not saying it's black or white or like
sure.
one or the other, but like do you like going out into public and interacting with people? Like for example, I just went to the Patriots game last night to or two
Oh,
nights
that's
ago
cool.
to watch the Giants get like completely massacred.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Like the game was over by the time like we found our seats, we sat down, it was already 10-0. It's humiliating. Um and same with like, I take my kids to Six Flags New England, and like you get like a cross section of society that like you know even like Walmart like pales in comparison. Like I'm like how can I justify leaving the house if this is what I'm going to be around? And I know I'm 100% clear that that makes me a bad, judgmental, unwise, unhumble person. Sure, okay, great. Like, but I'd rather be home and at peace than here, like questioning everything.
I don't really have a
Like, do you
response to
not
that.
do you not feel that way?
No, but I think
Okay,
you have
so
very high
so
standards
I
for
would
like
then say
humans.
I would then say that you are a more reasonable, humble, wise person than I am. That you're able to
But
be.
it's a different thing. It's like um because I don't necessarily like I think those traits could help, but I don't think those traits are like the thing. Because they're not like the core difference between why you and I have a different experience going out. I think you're you're generally more of a leader and you have more expectations of those around you, and so it's hard, you can't really turn that off just because the person doesn't isn't trying to help you achieve something. Like, we are all people and we all at all times should not be less than people. So can we all please be people at all times, I feel like
I
is
think
the
I
Mena
like
standard.
I think I that sounds fair to me, but I don't think I'm in the majority. I think that is a radical, wild,
Yeah, it is.
crazy idea.
I don't think most people have the expectation that everyone be a person all the time.
No,
Yeah, I don't think like I don't think that's like, oh, you're so unwise or you're so unhumble for having that expectation. It's you you're just like you just have some more ambition and you've had opportunities to work with people towards them, and so it's like this is kind of you need this expectation to be able to do these things. I don't have that, so I don't need this expectation. If I'm in line in a Six Flags and the person next to me wants wants to behave in some animal-like way. Oh, I mean, I'm proud that they have the courage. That's cool that they have the courage to do that. I don't have that kind of courage to behave that way. That's it for me. Like, that person's braver than me is all I can think. Like, it's not like, oh, I wish you would just behave like a person. Like, I don't have that hope or expectation for anyone. Like,
like I wish it would be like a reasonable thing to like go up to a perfect stranger and be like, let's talk about your decision making process here. like let's workshop this for the next 5 minutes, how you're behaving here.
you could do that. You would just end up on the internet. You would just get like you would be on the Reddit front page, basically. That's the only that's the consequence of that choice.
Yeah, and that's why it's like it's really like I'm really hoping for the day where I have no reason to leave the house, and if anybody needs anything or wants anything, or like I have a landline phone and like an answering machine from like the 90s, and I'll check my email, and if you want to email me, I'll check your message, and if you want to leave me a voicemail, I'll check my machine like a couple times a day and call you back, and that's it. Like I'm around.
I mean, if the college bubble collapses, that could come sooner than you think. If you don't have to pay for any of your kids' colleges, like. But
You think
I
that's
am
gonna
with you there.
happen? I'd love to believe you.
I mean, it'll happen. I just don't think it'll happen in a time in a timely enough fashion for us to benefit from it.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know if it'll happen in this century or the next, but at some point, it's just unsustainable. And like, I don't know. I mean, right now, people have like STEM degrees they paid $500,000 for. They can't get a job. So I mean, it could be sooner than I think, but
I
at some
mean,
point,
all it would take is for kids that could go to like good schools to choose to go to trade schools and be like, no, like I'm going to be a plumber, I'm going to be an electrician, I'm going to you know learn a trade and actually make something of my time instead of you know learning things that may or may not be relevant to my future, and the job market deciding that these aren't helpful things that they'd like to pay me that I for studying.
You're saying that's all it would take for the college bubble to collapse?
Yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah.
oh, Joe Ate is probably somebody that you should talk to. So Joe will take like an extreme position, really on just about anything. But like one of them is market forces, and he will never allow you to say something about like, oh, what we should or whatever. Like he's very, very, very much a capitalist that like, nope, the market will determine what, like, if you tell me something is overpriced and it should be less, then I'm gonna tell you like, why are people still paying for it? It's like that Yogi Berra, like, oh, that restaurant, nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded. Like this is just not how it works, right? Like if anything, like this thing is underpriced because you could raise the price and people would still buy it. Like it can be worthless, like to you in your opinion, but if people are willing to pay for it, then no, like you cannot say that this thing is overpriced. So what it would take, and I think this would be an interesting question for Joe, like what would it take for college prices to come down? And I think he would agree for people just not to pay, right? Like if instead of like having a 2% acceptance rate, they are struggling to find students because people are like, this is stupid, this is a waste of my time, I'm not going to do it. But until then, as long as these schools have a 2% acceptance rate,
Yeah.
there's no bubble. Like
I,
the bubble is our imagination.
well, I agree almost completely. It's like it's a matter of like terminology, right? So like there's overpriced in the sense of like okay, it's supply demand, but there's also like what something's actual worth is, right? So like
Right. And he will completely annihilate any discussion, conversation, opinion on
yeah,
a second.
sure. It's just like how much is a dollar worth? Well, a dollar's worth a dollar. No, I have a guy right here who's gonna pay me $2 for this dollar. Like, is that dollar worth $2 or $1? It's worth a dollar, but I just because of some friction or some fool, I can get $2 from it. And so in this moment, it's $2. Like, is that overpriced or is it fairly priced? No, it's like so like your college education has a specific value to it. Whether you want like, yeah, you can say it's always appropriately priced because people always pay it. Fine, then price isn't the word that I want to use. I would come up with a different word that means like its actual value. But I mean, I also agree that the reason that can make the prices so high, people will pay them, and a capitalist society is one that the value, like the price of things, is determined based off of right, which is like it's like it's a like it's a tautological definition, right? Like we're
Right.
just going around in circles. We're saying that we should probably have picked a different system that doesn't motivate this kind of behavior. Is like,
Right.
or not, yeah. Um, I'm not. I don't really feel the need to discuss like the ideology of like,
Oh no, no, you can save
yeah.
that for Joe.
Okay, so the other branch of the other place we could have branched off at was I guess you being more flattered by that you have a positive impact.
Yeah,
I
I'd
guess
like to think so. Yeah.
you like to think that you're flattered by it, or you like to think that you have
No, no,
one.
I am flattered by it, and I'd like to think that that's the case. I hope that's the case, and I think that that's worth chasing, reflecting on whether you're doing and asking like where I am in the scale. And, if you're at a 3 and you say, I want to be a 4 next year, I think that's 100% worth the time, effort, energy. Um,
Sure. Yeah. I, I
because it's more relational. Like
it,
it's more about the people that you're responsible for. Um, and whether you're responsible for them, um, in a um, institutional sense or in an existential sense, right? Where you're responsible for them because you're kids. Like, okay, that's obvious, but you can also say I'm responsible for the person in Papua New Guinea that doesn't even know that I exist, but I know that they exist, and I have responsibility towards them in such a way. I think that is something that is worth reflecting and considering, and being deliberate about whether you're living up to that ideal or not, as you define it for yourself.
So just a quick question. So you don't think that's true for wisdom and humility? I thought
No,
you don't think you should reflect on whether you have like humility?
no,
Okay, interesting.
I don't.
Uh,
I think it's a dangerous thing to chase. You ever see Life is Beautiful?
no.
So one of the running themes, motifs, if you will, is riddles, and one of the riddles is when you say my name, I go away when you say my name. Silencio, the
Mm,
silence.
uh,
And I listen. I don't know if I'm right. I have the concern that wisdom and humility are things that So you ever read Flow by Mihai Mihai? So he's quoted a lot by Malcolm Gladwell. He comes a lot in popular social science literature, and the concept of flow is one where you're locked in to whatever it is that you're doing, and the ego dissolves, and it's no longer about you as the actor doing this thing. It's about the thing itself, and your agency dissolves in the flow and dissolves in the execution of this thing. So being in flow, and it doesn't matter if it's a sport, you know, a video game, surgery. I'm sure you get into flow coding, right? Like you're in this thing, and it's no longer about like, oh, I'm such a good coder or whatever. Like, no, it's just about like making this beautiful code that is efficient and effective, right? Um, and I think wisdom and humility are like that, where the second you start reflecting on them, they disappear.
I agree with like 70% of that, but
No, it has to be 100% or nothing.
I would just say like there's some amount of reflection of like that was an unwise thing to do, or that was really arrogant or something, where it's like at the very least the
That's
negative.
different though. That's not. So do you know about the book that I'm writing?
I'm like 30% sure I have it on my shelf. I just wanna it's bothering me now that you mention it, and I can't tell if I have it or not.
No, not the book that I'm referencing. The book that I'm writing.
Oh, you're writing a book?
Yeah,
I did not know that. Oh, what book are you writing?
it it's a work in progress, and it's centered around the idea of um, the impossibility of proving a negative. So the current working title of the book is "Frogs in Our Pockets," and it comes from a story where I had a patient who came in and said, like, "There's a lump on my arm." I said, "Show me," and he couldn't show me, and I said, "I can't see it, I can't feel it," and he said, "Yeah, but it was there a couple weeks ago, and my primary saw it." I said, "Okay, well, your primary can decide what tests appropriate." And he said, "Well, the primary sent me to see you." And I said, "Right, and if I can see it, I'd be happy to evaluate it for you, but if you don't see anything there now, and you don't feel anything there now, and you can't show me what you saw or felt before, I don't know where to start." And we talked about like we could do this test, we could do this test, we could do this test, and all of them are going to be normal, all of them are going to be negative because like there's nothing there right now. So I think it was on the cheekier side, my response, but I said, "Can you prove that there's no frog in my pocket right now?" And he said, "What?" I said, "Do I have a frog in my pocket?" He goes, "I don't know." I said, "And you can't prove that I don't?" And he goes, "No." I said, "If I did, I could pull it out, right? You could prove that it's there, but you can't prove that it's not there." And there's a difference between what you said, which is, "Oh, that was really arrogant," or "Ooh, that was unwise," or, a great line from Jacob, my son, who was, I think, 14 at the time. And he's standing across from Ahab, who's like 30 something, next to me, who's 40 something. And on his other side is Anthony Zaki, who's like 20 something. So you have like four generations: teens, 20s, 30s, 40s. And we were like, "What's wrong with you? Like, why did you do that?" And Jacob goes, "It seemed like a good idea at the time." And me and Anthony and Ahab just looked at each other. We're like, "Yeah, like, like, what are you gonna like? What do you say to that, right? Like how many times a day do we say it seemed like a good idea at the time, and like that's the best answer you could give? So recognizing when you're unwise, recognizing when you're unhumble, sure, I agree with that. That's not the same thing. So saying we have a frog, I agree with, but you can't prove the non-existence of a frog. And wisdom and humility, I think, are more, if you'll accept the word, apophatic than cataphatic.
I disagree with this as well. Um, so like
I just
my
want to,
former
I just want to tell you how tempted I am to be like, I don't think you're in a position to disagree. I'm the one who's wise. I'm the one who's humble. So I'm telling you what humility and wisdom are, and you're going to accept my answer.
the thing is like the one of the first things we learned when I took theory of computation um was that people always say you can't prove a negative, but it's very standard in computer science and algorithms and math to prove a negative. There is no blank. I can I can prove that in this scenario. Um, that there's no better solution, that there's no worse solution, that there's all of the solutions are in the set of things that satisfies this is nothing. You can prove you can prove that. Depending, obviously, like some things are not provable, right? You're familiar with Gödel's completeness theorem. So you can't have a logic system basically that makes sense and covers all truth. There will be some things that are true that you can't prove in a given logic system. That um, a statement is always true in, or a statement is always false in, right? Um, that's a poor explanation, but you're familiar with Gödel's completeness theorem.
Sure, and one of the things in Gödel's incompleteness theorem is that you can't use something within the system to prove the existence of the system.
Right.
So
So there are things.
like we are the system, right? And if we're not talking about a data point or observation in the system, which is a episode of a lack of humility or an episode of lack of wisdom, but we're talking about the system itself as being wise, as being humble, that is never going to be proven by the system itself. It has to be an external measure. So I
Oh,
do
sure. I
think
mean,
I do think that that applies.
okay. Are you familiar with Turing machines? Like the
Yeah,
concept of a Turing machine?
yeah.
So it's like, so there's something called the halting problem, where we can't prove that there is no machine that can prove that all of the Turing machines halt. But if you're willing to say, I accept that there are some machines that don't halt, or that I can't prove that they halt, you can actually prove that so many of them do hold. And so you can do a lot of analysis on Turing machines using Turing machines, um, if you're just willing to recognize that there's just some things you won't necessarily have a good answer for or
Right,
have
but
the
if
answer
I
for.
if I am one of those Turing machines, I can't be the arbiter of my own passing or failing of the Turing test. Like I can agree or disagree, I can be correct or incorrect, but I can't be the sole arbiter of that question.
Um, yeah. So for like definitive deterministic truth, like yes, that's true. I also just want to say that that's not what the Turing test is. The Turing test is like, can a machine like confuse
Yeah,
you on whether it's human or not?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
but
if I am that machine, right, I can't say that I'm passing or failing.
sure. I guess the thing is, you can say with some degree of confidence, like you, because like for example, one of the things you can do is say like, well, given 10 million steps, will it halt? And if it doesn't halt in that 10 million steps, well, odds are it doesn't halt at all, for example. You can say something like that. And you can kind of do a little bit with self-reflection, like where there's something like maybe I don't know, but like I can say like I don't know the answer, but I can say with some confidence it went this way or that way. You know?
Sure. And I would
That's
say be careful.
sure.
That's all I'm saying is just leave space for the the possibility that you're overestimating your own wisdom and overestimating your own humility, because that's more likely than not the case.
Yeah. I was talking to someone once about like, oh, like how good is your gut feeling? And I said, oh, it's probably pretty bad. And then he was like, pretty bad? I was like, well, I think it's pretty good, but I know that there's like all kinds of biases. Like I know like there's a selection bias. So the times I'm thinking about, oh, I had a gut feeling, I remember them better because they went well. And
Right.
I also know that there's like the bias of like everyone thinks they're above average. And I also know that there's the bias. So it's like my instinct is to say, I have a good gut feeling and I have some examples. But then like the secondary thought is, well, if I consider this and I consider that and I consider this, probably it's no better than average. Like I know, for example, I know that I'm like a below average driver, and I think I used to be a above average driver. I've never met any. I've met two people in my whole life that think they're a below average driver, but somehow 99% of people I know in my life are an above average driver. It's like, how do those two people bring the average down so low that everyone's above average? Like the
Right.
average is so far below. It's not true, right? So I agree that there's like whatever estimate you have of your own wisdom or humility, if you have one, it's wrong and it's over. Like that's my intuition.
Okay.
I can agree with that.
Then with those caveats.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm not saying like I don't sit here and I don't sit here and go every night like, oh, Mika, so wise. Oh, the most humble boy in the world is Mika Khalil. Oh, good job, good job. Go to sleep happy tonight. Like, but I I think there's something about like recognizing like who you actually are, and those are traits that you may or may not have. And not that you necessarily have to know them, but I think it's just part of like confronting who you are at times is knowing that you do or you don't have those traits. Like it's
And I
important to know.
do
Yeah,
like in the positive of, yes, be aware of when you fall short of these. That, I mean, that 100%. It's just be careful when your sense is that you're not falling short. That's all I'm saying is like be careful about the declaration of the accomplishment of these
Oh
things.
yeah, yeah. Like I can't like I'm not gonna leave this podcast going, oh, I was so humble that in that podcast. Yeah,
Right,
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 right.
right.
Yeah, sure.
And that's
I
why
can
like
agree with
it's
that.
easier for me to concede that this is making me feel less wise and less humble, and it's harder for me to concede that um, one of the things that makes me feel less wise and more and less wise and less humble is the feeling that I am both wise and humble. Right? Like the first one I'm comfortable with, the second one I'm really uncomfortable with. And it's paradoxical, right? Like it like in that discipline and in that awareness, I think that there is a certain amount of wisdom and humility. And then recognizing that puts me in a position to again go back to the concern and the reflection and the repentance from feeling unwise and unhumble.
So I'm just remembering a story. I don't know what it's from. It could be that sayings of Desert Fathers. It could be the ladder of divine ascent. But it's just like the demons will like tempt you and say like, "Oh, you're so humble," and then if you say, "Well, that's just a temptation. I'm really not all that humble," then the demon will say, "Oh, good job for saying that. Like you recognize that you weren't humble. That's so humble of you." And then whatever, and it's like at some point
You're
you just have to
right.
laugh. At some point you just have to laugh at this whole thing. Like
Right.
just stop engaging with the thought and laugh.
Right.
Um, and I thought that was funny because it's just like, yeah, at some point you're just like, oh,
But embracing that paradox and understanding that we're on much safer ground, not reflecting on our wisdom and humility, but reflecting on our need of it and our desire to have more of it and our never ending um, need for growth in those respects. Like you'll never
yeah,
say I'm wise enough or humble enough.
yeah. I mean, you never will be.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I think for the most part we actually agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say like, passing grade level of agreement. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
70%.
yeah, yeah. Oh, we can move on to you having a positive impact.
Yeah.
Do you do you see how I see that, or do you want me to say how I see that?
I don't know. Like,
Well, like so things are easier to talk about if like you know what we're like if you have something to say about it. So you can
right.
say like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
positive
I
impact is a
like,
good thing. Yeah,
on the
sure.
one hand, like I think I prefer clarity, and I don't like to assume that I know what someone means. On the other hand, like I don't do well with positive feedback, so
Is that a pride thing?
yeah, it is actually.
Yeah. Someone was telling me that that was a problem I had. I was saying I don't take like compliments or positive feedback well, and they're like, yeah, it's probably because of like how proud you are. And I was
Right.
like, uh, I,
Yeah.
maybe I
Right.
guess I agree.
There is a humility in taking compliments, praise, you know, kindness, like whatever it is, and just saying thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. Couldn't be me. I don't know. Like, I, I partially don't see how those things are related. I'm just gonna turn off. Partially, I don't see how those things are related. Like, I'm told it a lot. I just don't understand it. Like, I-
So
if it
yes,
just,
if it helps the
yeah.
conversations, by all means. But if it's not necessary, then we
I mean,
can.
it's not, it's just to help you find something to say. So, like, I can talk about how, like, for one, I think you have a positive impact on a large number of people. For some people it's small, for some people it's big. Um, and then I think also percentage wise, I think you have a pretty good hit rate. Like, so like for example, like my own dad, I think he has a positive impact on a lot of people. I also think he has a negative impact on a lot of people.
Listen,
Um,
you're the one that brought Deacon up. I thought I asked if he was fair game,
yeah.
but you gave me a dodgy answer. So
Well, I mean, I didn't know what you were gonna say, but like, like he knows that he sometimes bothers people. It's not like,
right,
um,
this isn't news.
yeah.
But
So
he does
like,
go out of his way to tell me that um that there are people that dislike him, but there's more people that dislike me.
he's a competitive guy, and I
I'm
wish he
like,
would
what
just
a
play a
delightfully
sport.
Deacon thing to say. Like,
Yeah, I wish he would play a sport sometimes because he's so competitive. Like, and it's just like if you could just channel that into a sport in your free
right.
time, I think we might all, because yeah, like one time I actually I don't know I'll save the story for after. But
Okay.
yeah, it's not a bad story, but it's just like I don't want to do I don't. We can easily have an episode discussing Deacon
Oh,
Abram.
I mean,
Yeah.
we'd have to call Mark. We
Yeah.
need Mark, so Mark can sit there like this, and you and I can just talk, and he could just be traumatized.
Yeah. Um. But my point was like I think I'm sure you have a negative impact on people. I haven't really met I've met like two people maybe max if that who like you've had a negative impact on. And I think everyone else that I know that knows you you've had a positive impact on. Some
Are
people
you
it's
going to tell
really
me who
high,
those
some
two
people it's
people
really
are?
small. Um Maybe after.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh yeah, sure.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic. I can't wait to hear. There's one person that like immediately came to mind.
Okay, I mean I don't know sure. We can discuss it after. But
Yeah,
my point is like basically everyone who interacts with you is better for having interacted with you. Um And for some people, yeah, like some people are like, they get mentored a little bit more because they work more closely with you, right? I'm sure that anyone who's worked in your office or who worked on KV with you, they get right, they get a lot of gain from having interacted with you. And then some people who are like not in your Sunday school class, but you've come and had some interaction, whether you served a retreat or something, there, you know what I'm saying? And so I think just like the nature of getting a chance to interact with you is a positive thing. I think that's kind of
I
that's
mean,
kind of what I'm thinking.
when you're saying that though, I think with the examples that you brought up, I and I like this isn't like me chasing like the next rung on the humility ladder. Like this is like a
No, we've
genuine.
established that you and I are prideful. I think that's established in
No,
this
but
episode.
I mean this genuinely that like in my office in KV, ongoing relationships
Donate to
with
Canoni Ventures, by the way.
Alex. This is you. We've already established Alex is the only one that's going to watch these.
Yeah.
So Alex, go donate to KV. Um, I think with all of those ongoing relationships, I genuinely mean it when I say I've benefited probably more than whoever it is that we're considering to have benefited from me.
I won't like I can't really put like I won't push back on that at all. That can easily be true. I mean, you hear teachers say that all the time, or you hear people who are impactful say that all the time. I don't think that takes away though from your positive impact. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, yeah, and I just want that to be sort of like a clear point. And I think the reason that you hear it all the time from people that are impactful is that I would guess that it is a genuine, consistent, um, like measurable trait and attribute that the people that are making an impact are people that care enough to make an impact, work hard at making an impact, and are very attentive to the environment that they're in, that making an impact in scenario A is not the same as making an impact in scenario B. Making an impact in environment A is not making an impact in environment B. And it's a very empathetic um, approach to life, where it's not like, oh, I'm going to impose my will on this person or this group or this environment. I'm listening carefully and attentively, studying the environment, the effect that it's having on me, the effect that it's having on the people around me, the potential impact that they could have on each other and on me if we did things this way instead of this way, right? Like that analytical understanding of what would move the needle here, I think it is an essential part of what it means to have an impact. Because if it's self-referential and if it's about like, oh, me and I like what I'm gonna do and how I'm gonna fix this, it just doesn't work, right? Like you can't work with people and beat them over the head into submission. You have to work with people and understand, why are they there? What are they doing? Um, how are these things contributing positively, and how are things that I'm doing, right? Not just everybody else, but how are things that I'm doing holding us back? And how do we eliminate these barriers for us to be able to, coexist more effectively?
Is I'm curious, when did you learn that? Or like how did you learn that? Maybe you don't say when, you don't have to age yourself, but like how did you learn that?
I learned it by not doing that. So if we have accepted that wisdom and humility are a work in progress, things that we're trying to continually strive for, and the way to do it is recognizing when you're not wise and when you're not humble, and repenting from that lack of wisdom and lack of humility, being an effective team player, being an impactful person comes from recognizing when you weren't a team player and you weren't impactful, and understanding that it's not just because they were ridiculous and they were wrong, which they might be. like, like I said, it's very common and it's very understandable for us to judge people very, 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 very fairly and say like, people are ridiculous, and people, are more likely to do the wrong thing than the right thing, right? And there are some organizations, and one of them that like recently, was in the news, Steward Healthcare. Like when they would make a good decision, you'd wonder like, this must have been an accident, or they must have been like trying to do something like criminal and wrong, and accidentally did the right thing. Where like you're questioning, like maybe I misunderstood, maybe it was the wrong thing. So that doesn't really enter into the equation of your own impact, right? Because if the organization is a problem and the environment is a problem, the cultural environment that you're in doesn't lend itself to progress, excellence, community building, whatever it is that you're ascribing to as a value, and saying like, this is really important, this is really good, this is something that we should be doing together, and we're just not. You don't put yourself in the judgment seat and say everybody else is doing everything wrong and they need to just listen to me. You ask, how am I part of the problem? You ask, how am I contributing to the dysfunction, and how do I at least extract the role that I have in making this problem worse? And I mean, it doesn't surprise you, like Mena the bull in the china shop has been there, where it's like, this is ridiculous, like this is the stupidest thing I can imagine, like Like that's completely wrong, and you shouldn't be doing that, and we can't be doing that. And if that's what you're going to do, then I'm going home. um and I think that, there is a time and place for that sort of thing, and not to be said in an unloving or critical way, but just to say, like, listen, like, this just isn't tenable, and I'd like to continue to participate. I just can't participate in this capacity because what it is that we're doing here is antithetical to the values that we're stating. So we either start behaving in a way that is aligned with these values that we're stating, or we just accept that, like, we don't believe in these values, and that's okay. Like, either one of those is okay, but I can't continue to function in this way where we, are doing the wrong thing and calling it right. Like, I can't keep doing that. But there's a way to do that that is destructive and, like, judgmental and mean, which I've done like 100%. But recognizing that there's a way to do that same thing in a way that's more encouraging and inclusive and supportive. And that's an art. That's not a science. That's not something that I think um, I consider myself to do well. It's definitely something I consider myself to do better than I used to. But I used to do it, like, horribly, and now I just do it badly.
I think it's interesting because I think you're a well ingrained member in our church community, but I think in any community that you generally choose to be a part of, you're you're a larger than life personality and you're impactful, whether positive or negative, immediately, right?
Mm,
And so part of the question, like part of what you said was like, oh, how am I part of the problem?
mm,
Which is definitely something everyone should ask. Don't get me wrong.
mm,
It's not limited to just, oh, the most impactful. It's but it is interesting because like you can walk you can easily imagine someone who's generally not impactful at all walk into a system or a community or a group and say, well, this thing should be changed, right? Like we say we value this, but we clearly our actions show that we value um,
mm.
that. And the the immediate questions I think that you ask, um, I don't doubt are very effective for you, but I don't think they're the universal like because if that person takes themselves like see like what is how am I part of the problem? The answer is you're not part of the solution. You're not part of anything. You're just like you're a fly on the wall.
No, I disagree. I think I forget who said this, but the the evil is when good people choose not to do what they know to be the right thing.
Yeah.
So if you've gotten to that point where you have the awareness to be able to evaluate and say we could be doing better, and self-reflect and say I could be doing more, there's your answer. Like that, like, I there's no such thing. Like, you want to tell me, like, I'm larger than life, blah 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 blah. Okay, I'm not going to disagree with any of that, but, like, what do I do that's really that special other than go, what are we doing? Why are we doing that? Like, is that really like a mind-blowing question? Like, what are we doing and why are we doing that? Anybody can ask that. People don't, but anybody could.
Yeah. I mean, could is a word. Like could like anybody could is a true word. Anyone would is a less true word. Everyone doesn't
Okay, but
is
but
yeah.
I would challenge you to say that the fly on the wall is part of the problem because they are complicit in what's happening around them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Like you don't get a pass to say, oh, but I'm not Mena Mesiha. Like Mena Mesiha is not Mena Mesiha. Like it's a figment of your imagination.
Yeah. Okay, I agree. I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, I just it's sorry because like when you're telling the story, I'm imagining you, right? Because you're the one telling the story, or you're the one describing it. So
Right.
yeah, yeah. So I understand. I agree 100% with what you're saying right now. Like I'm following. Thank you. Like
And
that
I
clarifies it.
said this to someone just this past weekend that, you know, sometimes we're afraid of speaking up and saying that we need to raise our standards because we're afraid of being held to that standard. Like you know my thing about timeliness, right?
Uh, well, I know that you value punctuality.
And I'm very not punctual. And people are surprised to hear that I'm not punctual. And I struggle with it. And I don't have an easy time being on time. And it's not something that I um, have as a natural talent. It's something that I value as a necessity of having a well functioning uh, community, right? Like if we don't respect each other's time, what else are we not respecting? So it's very easy for me to say, well, I'm not very punctual and I'm not that good at being on time. So I'm not going to say that because I'm really afraid that someone's going to call me out on my lack of punctuality. And I do think that there's a certain degree of humility in ascribing to a virtue, value, ideal that you don't like it's not like oh I you know analytical thinking like that's something that like we should really value. Like okay, I happen to be really good at that, but I'm not good at punctuality. But I'm willing to say that even though I'm not good at punctuality, it's something that we should be good at and we should at least try, because the more we try and the more we succeed, then the more respect we have for each other and the more able we are to coexist as a community, because we're actually valuing each other's time and valuing this shared concern for each other's um, time.
I think it's an interesting point about es- the aspiration that we all hold we of setting a high standard that you may not personally fulfill is um is both like having a positive impact, but also um humble in and of itself, right? Like recognizing that we should achieve something that I don't personally hold, and then having the courage to speak up and address that. I I think that's a good thing. I guess I guess that requires like a level of bravery and confidence, right? Like not I guess it requires a level of bravery and confidence because like you're almost 100% gonna be criticized for that, right? Like there's no universe where you say, listen, I think we all need like we all need to be on time, and then everyone in the room looks at you and says, you have never once been on time to any of these
Right.
things ever.
But I think we should be.
No, no, I agree that like it's just like I'm not sure I like nah, I know I don't have the confidence to go do something like that. Like to be like, we should
But
all
you
do this
should.
thing that I'm not going to.
But you should. And I said this to somebody that I was talking to who I forget what we were talking about specifically, but something related to the Sunday school service, and it was something that I was saying like this is absolutely something that we should do, and he says I agree. I just don't feel like I can be part of that. And I said, so what? Like, you can be the guy that says this is something that we need to do. And he goes, but isn't that, I'm like, what, hypocritical? And he goes, yeah. I go, yeah. And I think you're either um, someone who does it and says that this is something that we need to do, in which case you're um, a I forget what word I used, but it was like a difficult person or something like that, and that's not desirable, right? Because you're the menace that's like, you know, holding people to a standard that's like, oh, like I can't stand this guy, right? Or you're the hypocrite that's saying like this is something that we should do, but I can't do it myself. And I said we need more, whatever word I used, you know, for for the annoying guy, and hypocrites, like people that speak the truth and say like this is not a standard that I, you know, I'm able to live up to, but it's a standard that we should encourage each other to try to live up to. um, I think we need more of that, because we're not doing it each other and we're not doing ourselves any favors lowering the bar so that we're not worried about meeting it ourselves. Like, I'm not the bar and I'm not the measure by which we should be, you know, considering what's acceptable or not. Christ is. And if we say that we're not ever going to meet that standard, let's at least try to define it, right? And see the gap, which is huge, but let's shrink it together.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't think you'd find anyone who'd push back on that part of it, right? Like, I think everyone, I mean, fine, I'm not gonna say everyone, but like anyone I interact with
I
on a
do
day,
actually. I hear people push back and say, yes, but we don't want to, and blah blah
no,
blah
no,
blah
that's
blah, like
that
enablement
part.
discouragement.
I think people, yeah, naturally, everyone, most people, I think would push back on. Like, I'm just saying, like, it's not that no one thinks that we shouldn't be better, but it's is pushing people to be better in a thing that I'm bad at. I think is the thing that I like being the like intentionally being the hypocrite, right? Um, I think everyone would prefer the people who are good at things to hold the standard higher for those of us who are bad at the things. So it's like I'm not the most punctual person in the world, but I am more punctual than all of the people I hang out with. So like I have no problem getting on their case about being late because they were later than me. If I was the latest person, I would never mention, even if I value the punctuality still, I would never say it. You know what I'm saying? Like it makes it's I feel like it makes more sense and it's more impactful. I agree with what you're saying. If even the people who don't meet the standard are pushing us all to have the standard, we're all far more likely to meet the standard, right? Because there's like a social pressure, like a greater social pressure. But I think and that is a true statement, and I agree with it, and that would be really really nice to have. Almost as nice, but not quite. Actually, not almost as nice. Far less nice. But it would be nicer to just have people who are punctual, and then we all have the punctual standard as well.
Sure, but like that's not like
But
that's not reality, right? Like you can't
yeah,
warp reality,
sure.
right? Working within the reality where we're all imperfect and we're all um we're all inclined to say that we're doing our best when we're probably not, right? Like we're all inclined to do 20 to 60% and calling that our best.
You're right. Um, yes. Like, yeah. So you're right here. I'm just uncomfortable.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I know.
I don't really have anything to say on this particular thing, to be honest. Like I don't have I don't have like many many standards that I feel like other people should be meeting um in general. So I don't like it's not actually maybe that's not true. I haven't sat and thought about it. So there's not like I'm not really ever sitting in a circle and being like, guys, you know what we need to do more of? We need to be better at like
Being a hypocrite.
okay.
100%. I think that is a cherished value and the core of any good relationship is measured, calculated, transparent, repentant hypocrisy. I do it with my patients. It works wonders. Where it's like, listen, I'm not good. I'm not a good patient. Like, I'm not telling you to be any better of a patient than I am. I'm just saying, like, let's just be clear. You don't want to be here. You don't want to do what I'm telling you to do. And part of the problem is that you just want to do absolutely nothing and still get better. Okay, like that is a choice that you can make. Or you can decide, okay, I'm still going to be a bad patient. I'm still going to hate this guy. I still don't want to listen to him. I still don't want to do any of this, but I'm going to do it just enough to get what I want out of it. And then I'm going to move on with my life. I have no problem with that. And I'll tell them, like, I hate going to the doctor. I hate people telling me what to do. And I hate having to do something that I don't want to do. So I get it, and I fully support your independence. And I didn't come to your house and say, "Hey, listen, what are we doing about your shoulder?" You came here and you asked me, "What should I do?" And I'm not saying this with any criticism or judgment. You're allowed to say, "Thank you very much. I'm not doing any of that," or you can make it worth your while that you came and do these things, and more likely than not, get better if you do them.
Yeah, I can see it a lot more in a one-on-one setting, like telling someone like, "Hey, I wouldn't do this. I don't do this." Like I used to do a little bit of coaching for powerlifting, and I coached a little bit for like the style of weightlifting that's like Olympic style weightlifting. That's in when they started that club at Northeastern.
Mm,
And I don't know anything about that. And I had no problem telling them I know nothing about this. Here's what I know. Like, here's what I learned that can help you. I don't do that because this is not my sport.
mm,
Um, and when I coach powerlifting, like once again, it's just like I've never done this, but I know that this is the right thing to do, and I don't plan on doing this. But like this is how like given whatever you're talking about right now, like this is what you need to do for that. Or it's like you know what I'm saying? Like I understand that for like helping like someone comes to you for advice, you can say like, listen, I want to do this, but this is the best thing you can do. If I know that this is the best thing that they can do, I think that's different because I the difference is I don't invite really a ton of criticism on myself by being transparent immediately about the fact that I don't do this, but also that I'm not subject to like an audience or a council for my hypocrisy or my failure to do the thing.
do you realize that one of the most important things to understand as the parent in any parent child relationship is the value of this calculated, measured, um, in certain cases, even unrepentant hypocrisy?
I mean, that's pretty easy to see because you want to hold your kids to a higher standard. Sure.
One that you have never met, never intend to meet, and still, for their benefit, need to in a completely unabashedly hypocritical way say this is the right thing, even though you have no evidence whatsoever that you actually believe it by your actions?
So like I think there's like a difference between
Wow.
listen, there's a difference between like transferring knowledge and holding someone that you're responsible for, and then like saying like us five together are going to be held to the standard that I'm not going to meet.
No, no, I didn't say not going to meet. That I don't meet, and I'm willing to be one of the people that's held accountable to this standard that you know and I know I will be dead last in meeting this standard. But I'm willing to be held to that standard. Like imagine like I said, we need to be nicer. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna meet that standard, but we should be. Like I don't think we should be.
Okay, because like I didn't know what to say. Like yeah, I mean, because in my head, if I was going to be the one who's going to say we all need to be punctual, I would probably spend a couple weeks being really punctual first, and then I would say let's be punctual.
Okay, but I'm
I
telling
like
you right now that if I were to wake up one day and decide we all need to be nicer, the best way for me to close that gap is not in isolation and then come from my high horse. And they're like, what have you been like punctual for like 5 minutes? And like all of a sudden now you're coming on us and telling us to be punctual.
okay,
It's
at
more
least you can
like
honestly say that I've been working on it. So like
no,
I think
no. It's more unifying and it's more relational. And it's more constructive to say, hey, listen, this is a weakness of mine. This is something that I've been thinking about the value of, and it's something that I by no stretch of the imagination um, think is something that I'm good at, but it's something that I'd like to be good at, and I think us doing this together is going to make it more likely for me to be able to do this myself. And if, like you're saying, this group of five people being punctual, or if I decided to be nice, which I won't, that person, if they're the least punctual and the least nice, it's a very powerful statement to say, I'll always be dead last, and I'm okay with that. And I don't want you to hold back and tell me that I'm doing good when I'm not. Like I want to be held to the same standard as everyone else because it's an important thing for us to be punctual and to be nice. And I don't care if I'm dead last. I just want to be better tomorrow than I was today. That is a powerful statement to make. And the reason that we don't do it is because we don't want to be held to that standard. We lower the bar for everyone else so that we're complicit in the lowering of the bar for ourselves.
so. I have a question. Have you ever done that and like gotten absolutely torn apart?
Let me see. Have I done that?
Oh, have you never done it before?
No, no.
You've never.
I'm more of a lead by example type of person where I think I'm more likely to identify the problem, see it first in myself before I see it in others, and decide, okay, this is if this is worth doing for all of us, then it's worth doing for myself. And if
So,
other
but
people,
how is that different than me saying like, oh, I think we should be punctual, so I'm going to start being punctual, and then bring it up to the group?
because I would love to be part of a culture where it's safe and it's fair and it's welcomed for us to talk about and discuss and aspire to ideals and be comfortable with our vulnerability and our inability to live up to those ideals. I think that is actually more healthy. And I haven't been in, well, I haven't been in an environment that is enough like that, but I think that that's something that I would aspire to be part of a community that's able to do something like that.
Okay, because like in my head, the reason not to do it is not that we wouldn't want to hold ourselves to the standard, but it's I don't want to deal with the pushback from being someone who doesn't hold myself to the standard while I'm trying, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's how I see it in my head. Like, that's my personal hesitation to behaving that way, is the is dealing with the community while I fail at this trait that I'm saying we should all be working on.
And
Not that I would rather we all, you know what I'm saying?
I think the further along you go up in the food chain, the more likely it is that what I'm saying is true.
Oh, sure. I mean, I hope to remain at the bottom of the food chain personally, but
And the further up in the food chain you are, the more likely it is that you're going to enable bad behavior and accept lowered standards because, you know,
it's easier.
yeah.
Sure. Okay. I mean, I can concede that you're right. I mean, I don't see myself as in a position to do that, or I don't see a community where I'm like, we need to fix this. Let's do this. I don't have it, but we should all strive. I honestly don't feel like I have that much of a voice in any of the communities I'm in, but that's like by design more than like it's not like oh people are suppressing my voice. They just but that was insightful. I mean, I definitely learned a lot from that. I'll think about that.
But aren't you saying that the whole reason that you're doing this is that you want that to change?
Like want to change. I
Don't you want
I
to have more of an impact? Don't you want to have more of a voice? Don't you want that to not be something that is what you're choosing? This default setting of, you know, fly on the wall.
like partially. So I'll say look the scene that I think about a lot when I think about the positive impact that like Uncle Iroh has um is like he gets mugged and he's like a warrior. So the guy who's mugging him is like just some scrub. So he like knocks the dude off his feet gently and is like, "Hey man, like let me help you." So he teaches him how to like have a fighting stance and then he's like, "Listen, you don't really seem like a fighter. So like what's the deal here? Like why are you mugging me?" And he's like, "Ah, I want to be masseuse and no one believed in me." So he gives him like some advice and helps him on his way. And that's kind of the impact that I personally would like to have. It's when people interact with me, for better or worse, with good intentions or bad, that I can leave them off in a better place for having interacted with me. It's not like I necessarily feel like I need to be a leader in a community or like have some sort of pulpit or have a loud voice or have necessarily a voice. Um, it's that when someone comes like crosses my path, I don't want to. I don't want anyone who crosses my path to be worse off for it or to be neutral for it.
Mm.
Like that's yeah. So that's kind of like, and I think, I mean, it's in different communities are different. So like, I've generally been around like really good leaders or really loud leaders. There's not always space for more, and it's not like I have some great ambition to be a leader.
Mm.
Some communities I've been in need a leader, and I mean that's true too. And I've stepped up in the past, and I wasn't necessarily a fan of how I behaved, and I wouldn't do things the same. And I learned from that. But I also don't feel that there is a need for me to be a leader in the communities I'm currently in.
Interesting.
Do you disagree, or do you have a thought? It's just an
No,
interesting. Yeah.
no. I mean, I think that might change with time, and I think one of the things that I tell people all the time is that before you're a good surgeon, you need to be a good assistant, and if you can't be a good assistant, then there's no hope for you to be a good surgeon. So, um, for you to be a helpful, cooperative, participating um, team member is the setup and is the preparation for you to be a good, cooperative, supportive, contributing team leader. And for you to be totally okay with never being that, but you know, there's we have more than enough people that want to be a chief and not an Indian. We don't need more of those people.
I was actually I was biting my tongue on saying that was a phrase I heard a lot in elementary school. It's too many chiefs, not enough Indians.
Right.
I thought, yeah.
Oh, is that like
Um,
not culturally appropriate anymore?
I don't know. I mean, now I say too many cooks in the kitchen or something.
Sure, sure, sure.
I don't know if it's. I mean, I, I don't know if that's culturally inappropriate or not. I just feel
I
like,
mean, whatever you want to call the
yeah.
person who was the chief of the tribes that were the indigenous people in the United States and the people that were under this chief person call like the analogy is the analogy, like what terminology you'd like
Yeah,
to use, you know.
yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, it's not like I'm opposed to growing into a leader. It's just like when I think about I've always preferred the image of myself as someone who's like high skilled in a niche thing and is more of a tool or a weapon than the person who wields it, if that makes sense.
I mean, I feel the same way about myself, but it just doesn't tend to work out that way because I'm like the sword being wielded by a useless swordsman, and I go, "Give me that hand."
Uh, um, okay, I'll refrain from that comment. Um, yeah, I don't think I have another question. But if you have anything that you feel like I should hear or you feel like needs to be said,
I don't know. Like, I just hope this wasn't a complete waste of time for you.
I enjoyed this immensely. And I don't think I argued with anyone else. So
I mean, I you asked me initially, like, do I prefer you, uh, praising me or arguing with me, and I genuinely appreciated the argument much more than the praise.
I'm glad. I think, well, it's tough to get someone and then push back and then have them prepared for a response to being pushed back. I think that requires like a strong foundation in what you believe and also a decent wealth of knowledge on the topic that someone can say something and you can have a response prepared
Yeah,
without going through it. And I don't think it's I mean it's tough to be pushed back and then have a response on the spot, I think.
but this is what I mean. Like when I say like it's really easy and it's really comfortable to be self deluded and to say like, oh, like this is fine, like this is good enough, like this is acceptable, like we don't need to rock the boat. That is a very complacent and unproductive position. And if we're constantly going to be interrogating ourselves and our environment for the soft spots on where things can and should improve. What can I do better? What can you do better? What can we do better? Um, then your arguments and your you know not complaints, but your criticisms of the position are not something that I haven't considered. Right? There's this constant interrogation and reinterrogation, and it's not like, oh, God forbid you tell me something that I haven't considered before, and then all of a sudden like my world crashes down around me. It's no, like, oh, like great, like that's actually beneficial. Like I never thought about that criticism to my argument before. So it's either beneficial in that you help me see it differently, or it's totally safe and it's totally fine because it's something that I'm very comfortable with as an ongoing criticism that I have of my own position. Have you read Anti-Fragile by Taleb? That I think should be a required reading for like humans like that. To me, like I mean, okay, maybe not if we're very, but anybody that aspires to be a leader and anybody that aspires to have um, an impact on a systemic level needs to understand this concept that durability is not the opposite of fragility. So what's the opposite of fragility? Like something that's very easily broken. Like if you argued with someone and all of a sudden like their position is crushed, is it durability? Where like they just argue back and protect their position no matter what?
That's probably flexibility,
It's
adaptability.
it's anti-fragility. It's a position that gets stronger the more you try to destroy it. Where my premise isn't that I'm right. My premise is that I'm thinking through this and I'm trying to find the best answer. That is an anti-fragile argument. That is an anti-fragile position to take in a conversation with someone. Where no matter what you say, I'm going to say, that's great. It's either great because you agree, it's great because you're bringing up a criticism that I've considered before, or it's great because you're bringing up a criticism that I've never considered, but I appreciate that you did, because the whole point of me having this strong position is to hold it loosely and work through it as effectively as I possibly can.
So I've heard this phrase a bunch recently, and I haven't figured out how I feel about it. But it's like, loose loose beliefs. Beliefs are strong beliefs loosely held.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I've heard it used both as a good thing and a bad thing. Because on the one hand, it means like like you're kind of like wishy-washy. So it's like,
sure. Yeah,
oh
you can
yeah,
listen. You can twist anything and take it
yeah,
out of context. And I'm not. I don't think I come across as a wishy-washy guy. But
not at all.
I do think that this idea of this is what I believe today, it's based on a certain amount of insight, research, experience, reflection, what have you. So it's going to take a significant amount of equal and opposite insight, research, reflection, what have you, to upend it. But like, what's gonna what's like what what's gonna harm you disagreeing with me if I have an anti-fragile approach to thinking, deliberation, conversation, right? If I have a fragile, like, oh, you can't say anything because the second you say something, I'm going to panic, then that's a problem. If I have a durable, which is really like a uh, synonym in this context for being stubborn, um, that yeah, having a durable argument is I think probably just as bad, if not worse, than a fragile argument. But having an anti-fragile approach to thinking, deliberation, what should we be doing, and for that to be relational and constructive, not idiosyncratic and oppressive.
Yeah. It's an interesting framework to think about it. Because like for me, like the fragile and durable or way to describe arguments, and anti-fragile is a discussion.
Yes.
So it's like to me, it's like they're almost like not even like I mean I'll read the book. I'm curious, but to me, it's like
But he's
we
not
shouldn't
talking
be
about
arguing. We
arguments.
should be
I'm
discussing.
applying
Yeah,
the concept to the conversation that we're having and to the approach to um, uh, what Aristotle would call deliberative rhetoric, right? Like the idea of how can you be convincing, and it's understanding what telos you have, what desired end you have, and working within that framework and understanding that not everybody shares that same desired end. We don't all share the same telos.
yeah. That reminds me of something. I don't know if I've said this to you, but I've been saying it a bit recently, where it's like everyone is reasonable to themselves.
Yes,
Yeah,
right. Nobody
everyone's
thinks.
reasonable to themselves.
Adam Sandler said this: "Crazy people don't know they're crazy. That's
Yeah,
why they're crazy."
yeah. So yeah, maybe I'll pick the book up. I have a long reading list though. You
They're
think I
all worth
should?
it.
Huh?
They're all worth it.
Who's there? All the books
all,
in the
all,
reading list?
all, all the great books are worth reading.
Oh, I have a lot of books that are not great on my reading list, but such as like. But I just started too many books, and now I have the itch to finish them before the year ends. So I just like it's yeah it's a whole thing. It's okay. All right. Thank you for your time. I don't want to take too much more of it. I also should probably get going soon. Thank you. If you
Sure.
have someone in mind to introduce me to as someone you think would make sense for this, I would appreciate if you put me in touch with them.
Joe Ataya, um, and I don't know if Abuna Dan will have the time, but you have the recordings from his retreat, and you can consider that to be his interview.
Hey, you wanna come on and we can listen to them to the go together. We could do
No, I don't.
that.
No, I have a very hard time with recordings.
Okay, thank you,
My
Mina.
my attention span is not the best.
It's okay. I appreciate it. Have a good one.